where you're saying, why may someone want to look for broccoli and yet they may have these dried wild vegetables here? Some people don't want to be associated with those kind of food. So in
Mhm.
most African countries, we notice that we may be able to produce as much food as we can, like corn or wheat or tomatoes. We have loads of those, but it's how we handle those products after harvesting, which brings the problem. So several times we have all the produce being lost due to weevils, like worms, or the product just perishes or decays, mostly
Mhm.
because we don't know how to further process it or how to add value. Now, this brings in the aspect of innovation. We need innovative ideas to be able to preserve our produce.
Mhm.
So let's think about Japan, right? They have rice. And what as I have lived here, I've noticed that they have rice everything. Rice cake, rice tea, rice wine, rice crackers, and I was just
Rice
thinking like
ice cream.
rice ice cream. So it means that they are doing a lot with just one product, right? And then at the end, they won't really suffer much loss because they're trying to salvage as much as they can from that one product. It's different from my country where we only have sada and probably one or two other products. I wonder, one time I was just wondering if we bring cornmeal to Japan, how many cornmeal products would they make, with all that kind of innovation? So, yeah, post harvest losses is one issue. And also, food processing failures is another issue, whereby we don't have enough resources or enough equipment or machines or enough innovative ideas to be able to process our products,
Mm.
because the one of the main reason for why we process food is to extend the shelf life, right? When the shelf life of food is extended, it means we can have the same product for a really long time.
Mhm.
So we don't have those innovative ideas to help us transform from the raw material into another state which can be preserved for a really long time. So that's what I think.
Okay. Shelf life. Understood. So, just to tie in a bit of that, you talked about innovation. We've talked about affordability. Um, when it comes to this innovation aspect, I've seen a lot of people talk about trying to put how many nutrients there are in all the products we have on the continent. I mean, I had never seen that until I came to Japan, but now I see some foods back home, things that, there is that aspect. However, I've also seen a lot of people coming up with advice about food and nutrition, and I kind of feel like it's mostly copy and paste because you see they tell you, oh, eat this kind of food or eat this kind of food, but that food is not local to us. And even the name sometimes, they're just going to give you some name that probably had in a movie or something, and you're like, wait a minute, what is that in my local language, right? So are these people saying that our food is not nutritious enough, or is it that we just don't have that the knowledge of nutrients in our foods, in our local foods? What is your take on that?
Okay, let me just mention something small about that. I think that it's the fact that, for example, in my country, the nutrition profession started off as training nutritionists for addressing food insecurity. So most nutritionists would actually go and end up in the refugee camps addressing cases of malnutrition, wasting, stunting, etc. So very few nutritionists were actually providing information to the people trying to address lifestyle diseases. So while these nutritionists have this knowledge, they're not actually focusing on this group of people. And I remember even when I finished school, I told my lecturers that I was going to start a private practice, and I was discouraged because they worried that I wouldn't actually have people to pay me for the service. So meaning that very few professionals are willing to do this kind of information because they worry that they will not earn a living out of it. And so that leaves the information or the educating to the people who are businessmen.
Uh-huh.
So these people are going to get, say, they're going to make whole wheat bread and put in some nuts in there and call it diabetic bread. But we all know that a diabetic person needs more advice than just taking a specialty food called diabetic bread. I've seen them go wrong with it. I've seen them eat 10 slices thinking it's healthy food. So education has been left to the people who are commercial. Almost every other post you're going to read and read to the end, there's some products that is being marketed. Someone is going to write a very beautiful article about sugar, and then at the end they're recommending their artificial sweeteners. Someone is going to write a very nice piece about how excess starch is bad, and at the end they're marketing their ketogenic meals. So everyone is trying to get cash out of this concern, while the professionals who are going to give the holistic advice, when I stand up and talk about healthy eating, I'm not going to be as exciting as a person trying to sell a product. I mean, they have motivation because they have something they're selling at the end of the day. So I think it's not that we don't know about the composition of our own foods. It's that the people who have dominated the nutrition education are usually selling something. Open any WhatsApp groups or practice healthcare anywhere, and people are going to forward you these messages,
Yeah.
and you're going to really see mistakes in these messages, clear cut mistakes, but they're making more noise than you. So and it's sad. It's sad because I've seen diabetics, for example, taking juicing and buying kiwis that are not locally grown in Uganda.
Yeah.
They don't have kiwis. I mean, we can use our local foods, looking for very rare vegetables. Let's say someone is looking for broccoli. I mean, we have amarantha here, almost similar nutrition composition, but because they're reading articles from someone who is trying to market this particular food, or if it's not someone marketing, they're going to get online, they won't find content by me, they'll find content from my US dietitian. So that's why they're worried.
And thank you for pointing that, because for me, it really worries me. And sometimes I'm on the verge of getting angry because I feel like we have the food, right? We have the food. Why are we so tied onto foods that are not there, foods that are growing in different conditions? Yet someone can go and pick their dodo from their garden, probably have, I don't know, Regina can tell us what equivalent nutritional value it has, but um, I'll come back to this and I'll ask you, what are we doing about this problem? But first, let's hear from Ashleigh.
Okay, well, I must say nutrition is not like a one size fit all, where one advice, one piece of nutrition advice will cover the whole nation. No,
Mm-hmm.
everyone has their own needs, right? And so I think it's the duty of the consumer, the person. Like whether I'm a nutritionist or not, I have this responsibility to know what I am putting in my body, irregardless of what the salesman is saying, because obviously they want to push their products and stuff. Then, well, I think it also goes back to the issue of social beliefs, where I told you that some people prefer certain foods over some foods just because of the social beliefs that may
Advertising.
be, yeah, advertising. For example, I may start buying maybe cream cheese in my home simply because I saw it on TV and they advertised it and they made it look so nice. And then the next thing, I'm going to a Zimbabwean supermarket and bothering everyone to show me where I can find cream cheese. But we may also have our local type of like sour milk or something. but simply because it's not what I saw on TV and it's not what I want to associate with. It's also an issue of association, right? Where you're saying, why may someone want to look for broccoli and yet they may have these dried wild vegetables here? Some people don't want to be associated with those kind of food simply because of these beliefs that have been passed from maybe generation to
Mm-hmm.
generation. Some people actually fear that some traditional vegetables, how do I say this? It's an issue of survival where people fear maybe traditional vegetable for the fear of dying, right? So they may say, probably let me just eat broccoli. I've seen it somewhere other than these traditional roots. I don't know where they're from. So it's an issue also of preference. So that's where nutrition education comes in. We have to educate like our fellow countrymen about
Mm-hmm.
these vegetables that our grandmothers ate for years and they survived. They never had diabetes or hypertension. It's actually part of what they were eating, which kept them healthy. So, yeah, we have a lot of nutrition education to do.
So apart
Yeah,
from education,
it's very true. And borrowing from what you're saying about foods that are local, seeming like they are local indeed, in the terminology of not as
not
authentic as
cool.
they not
Mm,
cool. I have, and because we could argue that maybe we haven't done composition analysis for our foods, but even for the few foods that have composition analysis, they are not being fully utilized. For example, there's a plant in northern Uganda which is usually used as a vegetable. It's called malakwanga. It's a hibiscus species where they pluck the leaves and paste them in a sauce. Very amazing vegetable. Every person from the north loves
It's
this vegetable.
delicious. It's
Delicious. Yeah,
delicious.
very nicely delicious. So,
I
and then
like
because
it.
of the fact that no one has actually gone into read about the malakwang leaf, they will keep reading about kale. Yet we have research in Uganda. For example, we have research that was done by a lecturer at the university where I studied, Chambogo University, on malakwang leaves, and she actually found out that they had an effect on lowering excess blood fat, the like lowering the bad cholesterol. So this is beautiful research, but people will keep saying, I want kale. Yet our malakwang, very delicious dish, actually has these benefits as well. So I think we have a role. That's why I say just to further the nutrition education as the nutritionists, to push this information out there and borrowing from what you said about individualized nutrition, maybe one person at a time, we shall make people realize that when I design for you a meal plan, I can use the local food, and this local food is what has given you better health. So that person will have positive feedback towards this local food. For example, in my plans, I want to include malakwang. They'll tell another diabetic, no, I'm eating local Ugandan food, nothing expensive. So they will slowly build positive attitudes. And for me, I find this exciting because every time you design a meal plan, you think you've designed it for that one individual, but they are in a family. As they buy their malakwang, they won't necessarily cook it for themselves alone,
Yeah.
meaning the children are going to eat it as well. If this is a person who is hypertensive, definitely their children are at a higher risk of also getting hypertension because of family history.
Okay, so right. So apart from education, as you said, what else are we doing to build our education, our knowledge banks? Because I remember I watched a TED talk and this gentleman, Dr. Tayo, he has a very complicated Nigerian name. He said that we don't have crisis in Africa. We just have a knowledge crisis. So apart from education, what else can we do to ensure that this information is out there and we can save people? Tell them that this food, this malakwang is very good. This dodo, this, is very good. What else can we
I
do?
think what happens is most of this research, they just um, end up in scientific papers or places
Shelves,
where, yes,
shelves of the
scientific
universities.
shelves, or we can only find them on Google search engines and stuff and stuff and stuff. So there are a lot of people out there who don't even know that they don't even know how to search for this information. They don't know how to access it. They don't even know it exists, you know. So I guess, and okay, once they find it, some don't even have the patience to read a whole scientific paper, you know. So probably what we can do is to just okay, I do this a lot where I just like take sections of a paper, right? And post on my social media platforms. And of course, put the reference, right, at the bottom. And a lot of people read, a lot of people go through my social media, maybe WhatsApp status or Instagram or
I
Facebook,
do.
and then they, and then they read these small pieces of information. That's how information gets out there. Well, I
Mhm.
guess it goes back to education. I don't know, Regina, maybe she has another idea.
I think that it really goes back to education, but like you said, you deliver this in small bits, so it's not overwhelming. I think that's the thing. We can't run it from education, but the way the education is being delivered is very important. And that's where the marketing people win us. They are going to get that one component and market it for its benefits and create a fuss around it to the point where it's even unsafe.
Mm.
Like they're going to make you seem like all you need to just do is eat this one thing and everything will
And
be
then that's
fine.
okay.
So I think while they are doing it in the wrong way, we can borrow from the same, like you're doing, and emphasize small bits of it. And what I'm also doing personally is emphasizing this to the individuals. When someone signs up for a program with me, I'm going to do nutrition education not at a go, but in small bits as tips. So they keep learning about different foods and why they are included in their meal plan gradually, not trying to force down information in one session because I realize that they actually never get it. And the other thing I'm working on is trying to put this information all together so that it's not also overwhelming for me as a nutritionist, where you are on, for example, it's 8 p.m. and someone is inboxing you, hi, what does this food do? Then another person is inboxing you. So it becomes very hectic and time consuming for you to think that you're going to keep answering every single person and educating them free of
Mm.
charge and at the expense of your personal time, which is not healthy for you as well. So I'm trying to put together this information into sort of a mini mobile app where someone can just log in and learn about different things. Thank you. Different things for their condition. So it will be really easy to use. Someone just types in like the condition, the goal, and because they've typed in that goal, over the next 30 days, they receive small tips about that condition. They're not going to log on and read the entire thing. And also, it's going to focus on the actual food where we have pictures of this food. So I really want to have a lot of pictures of local food, pictures of malakwam, pictures of pumpkin leaves. I want to I want to sort of fast local food over the Western
The
healthy
kale.
eating. Yes, I want people to say that person X lost weight from this to this, and they were eating pumpkin leaves. I want people to because I think that's how we learn to eat what we eat through pictures. So it's going to really be pictures. So if someone is anemic, they log on, they say anemia, and over time they're seeing different healthy plates showing them how someone who is anemic is eating, and they're seeing local food. They're seeing hibiscus leaves, they're seeing the millet, they're seeing things that are normal. Yeah. So that's what I hope that will help me with the education because it was getting overwhelming. Yeah.
I think when if we stop here right now, we have all our answers. Regina, that's an amazing, amazing thing. I'll surely be among the first people to go in your inbox when it finally comes. Thank you so much for that initiative. That's truly, truly
Mm-hmm.
something. So, we've talked about the the food security and the nutrition, but that's just in Africa. I don't know if you guys have studied about other countries or other communities, maybe not your particular community. what lessons can we learn from those communities, and what can those communities learn from us, in terms of nutrition, in terms of food security?
Oh, okay. I well, for the past few years, I've been here in Japan, and I've learned a lot, like a lot. So let me just tell you a little bit about the Japanese diet. Their term for traditional food is washoku, right? Washoku. So washoku means um, the meal is made up of several dishes, right? The dishes have are mostly seasonal ingredients, right? So this means, of course, they have their rice, and then they have several other vegetable dishes. And what I like the most is that these dishes are in their natural and wholesome state all the
Quite
time.
tasteless, but what's up?
Quite.
What's up?
So, well, the Japanese, they don't really like a lot of heavy seasoning, because the concept is that they want to experience food in its original state. They want to experience the real taste of food, the unadulterated taste of food. That's what they like. So, here people live up to 80 years old or even older. It's the country with the longest life expectancy. So it's mostly because of the way they eat. Their food is wholesome, seasonal ingredients, food in its original state, and they take particular caution of the issue of portion sizes. Regina mentioned portion sizes, right? So mostly in Zimbabwe, I don't know about Uganda, you find this situation where this person has a huge heap of starch, sada, just this huge heap, and they have maybe tiny portions of meat and vegetable. The plate will be unbalanced, right? And that kind of situation is not good. So here they have like small plates. I'm sure it's calculated. I don't know how they do it, but they have small plates, each with like the carbohydrates, the protein, and a lot of vegetables. So it's something I would want to teach my the people back home to take care of their portion sizes, right? And also the children, um, nutrition among children is really, really important here. They really take care of children in terms of nutrition. Even when you go to their nursery schools and stuff, they pay attention. They actually hire nutritionists or like dietitians. They go to the nursery schools. They're the ones who sometimes prepare the food, and they try to make it as balanced as possible, because they understand that children are still growing. They need different portion sizes, they need different nutrients. Yeah. So it's also quite different from back home, where you find a child having just starch and vegetables. And then you ask, where's the meat? And then they say, the meat is for the father of the house, you know?
Yeah.
But the father stopped growing already. He doesn't need as much protein
Okay.
as the child who's still growing. But you find the meat being reserved for the father. So those kind of
Mm.
practices are maybe what I would want to like change back home. Yeah.
I have a testament to that. When I just come here, I had like my two big dishes, one for like the rice and the sweet potatoes and pumpkin, and another one for like my sauce. Either prepare the peas or the beans. Like they were big dishes. I don't know, this big. But
Mm.
after some time, I think when you're around people, I started feeling guilty because like when I'll take out my dishes and they're like the biggest. I'll be like, and somehow I would eat and finish. But at some point I told myself, but let me try this small the smaller dishes, The first day was really hard. It was so hard. I was psychologically hungry the whole day. But as time went on, I realized food in the small dishes was enough for me. I was like, this is just psychological. You having this big chunk of I do not know what, it's not going to necessarily make you full. And when I used to go to the cafeteria, I used to be so angry at the small pieces, like three things of, I don't know, greens and 2 pieces of chicken. I'd be so mad. But now I eat, and that is enough for me. I am full. So ever since that time, I have been preaching to my people back home. Like, you guys, you don't need to. We don't even have big plates. Actually, at my place right now, we don't have big plates, because I think also having big plates psychologically makes you want to have food on the entire plate. So they're small plates, so that you're just eating just enough for you. So, when you talk about portions, I completely agree. When you talk about food in its natural state, I completely agree. So I think this is something, we could learn from, something we can pick from. Over to you, Regina.
Okay, beautiful. I think what you shared is really, really important for us to know that there are different cultures, and the way people eat can really show how they turn out in life. But also, it made me remember some of the things I tell clients when they tell me about, oh my God, I love rice so much. I think the problem that I have is I love rice. So people tend to associate a certain condition to the food that they like to eat. So they say, I will never lose weight because I love rice so much. There is no way I'm going to stop eating rice. But then, look at the communities that are actually using rice as their staple. For us, it's just boiled. For them, it is their staple. And they are doing portion control with this rice. But us who have borrowed the culture of eating rice, we want to enjoy it. And by the way, Ashley, for us, we even eat the fried rice and the white rice on the same plate.
Separate.
Yes, they put all types of rice. If there's also vegetable rice, you also put. So you put
There's also pilau.
you put white rice, pilau, brown rice, white rice, plus the vegetable rice. The individual wants to test all of them. And I always tell them, I think we need to love ourselves enough for us to know that tomorrow is a day, but also to realize that for you to actually keep enjoying this food, it makes more sense if you have a good life expectancy and the quality of life. Because sometimes people will say it's enjoyment. I need to enjoy food. And that's why we have most of the obesity coming in at the time when people start working and earning some money. But you need to enjoy food. But will you be able to enjoy it till you're age 60? What quality of life are you going to have? So for me, that's where the difference is. You acknowledge and where you want to be. Value where you want to be. Personally, I want to look good at age 60. And to be 60, I'm like, are you 60?
Or 25.
Like, yes, exactly. And for me, that's the goal. I don't want to have drooping. I don't want to have weak bones. I want to be well as much as possible. People will tell healthy eaters, wow, we shall all die. Yes, maybe we shall all die. But before I die, the quality of my life is going to be different from yours. So people need to value themselves and eat like they love themselves. So for me, that's the biggest take home, because even if we went around the world looking at different cultures, looking at different food, we are going to find bad food and good food in terms of quantities. We are going to go to Europe and find they're eating a lot of cheese. They have a lot of bread. But in those same European countries, the people who are able to eat healthy. European countries have some of the best salad recipes. Someone's going to have a bowl full of salad, maybe a sandwich and a salad, a whole bowl of salad. So we are going to be here saying sandwiches are bad because of the layers with the fat, with the cheese. But then they have chosen that I eat one pair of sandwich and then a bowl full of vegetables. So it's really about you. Whatever the environment, the person who makes the choice to eat healthy always wins. Because you would have decided to keep eating the Ugandan way, but you decided, I can do better. So for me, that's the biggest take home. Cultures aside, just choose you. Yeah.
And actually, I just remembered something. I think Ashley said Saza is your staple food. That's an equivalent of posho in Uganda.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. I think the first time you told me, I was like, what, what? Anyway, so ladies, I saw something on Regina's status today that really made me laugh. It is easy to
Mm.
change a man's dad than to change his religion. So as we wind up, what are your final words?
So yeah, I believe it. I believe it. And when I posted that, some lady actually sent me a message and said that it's true. I was Muslim, and all of a sudden I'm a Catholic, a very devoted Catholic. So it's easy for people to change religion, but telling them to change the food they eat because we attach social, because you see I love my beer, because it helps me not to feel stressed. You see the food cost. So there's so many factors, the cost, the social aspects, the taste, the preferences, the taboos, the luxury associating certain foods with a feeling of I'm now rich because I suffered as a child, my kids should eat a lot of ice cream. My kids don't like carrots. They can never eat carrots. They only like
Posho is
pizza. You
not
don't want to
good
show
for the
them that.
children.
Exactly. So it really takes us back to the fact that if that was a religion, it would be a religion where we are telling people to contribute money to buy healthy food. They would have to contribute time to prep the food. They would have to come to the preacher, Ashley, Elizabeth, myself, every time to re-emphasize. You see, we have to eat healthy because God loves you. So this time it would be, you see, you have to eat healthy because the future is bright. You won't be diabetic. So you have to keep emphasizing. So I tell you, it's a hard job. Sometimes I sit and tell myself, but am I going to do this job for life? Because people give you the fake excuses as much as possible. You tell them eat a healthy lunch, you see I have to be satisfied at lunch. Eat a healthy supper, they told me supper is bad. It's a journey. But to end this, I know that for every person you change, they are always amazed by how it was just food that changed them. The messages they send you to thank you years after, 5 years after, 10 years after, because the diet is sustainable, because you didn't give them bad diet, you gave them something sustainable. Those messages are beautiful and they really warm my heart. And as a matter of fact, actually, I admire you. And if I ever do a PhD, it will be in behavioral health because people's behaviors are hard to change.
Thank you, Regina. I think we should connect. I'm feeling a connection here. Okay. Well, my final words. I like using this analogy. Do you know people with cars, right? They choose the best type of fuel for their car. No one has ever poured water in their gas tank. Never, because they
Not
know the
even
car won't move.
kerosene when
Not
it's
even,
cheap.
you see, I've never heard of someone who has poured diesel in a petrol engine. Yeah, the same concept works with our body, with our bodies. Food is fuel. You have to choose the best. Food in its original state, food in its wholesome state, for you to enjoy, and also for you to have that good quality of life we were talking about. So I'm really encouraging people to do away with all those ultra processed, highly processed food. Just go back to the basics. Let's eat those hibiscus. What do we call them in Ugandan? Can you tell me
Malakwan
again?
live.
Malakwan.
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 Mm.
Let's eat those Malakwan leaves. Let's in Zimbabwe we also have what they call nyeve. Let's eat those. Let's just go back to the basics. And if we do that, we will live healthier lives. Yeah, I think that's all I have.
Well, ladies, thank you so much for today. I have learned so much. I don't know, we might have to do an encore on this. I don't know, maybe sometime. So, ladies, thank you so much. And to everyone who's listening and to everyone who's watching, thank you. I hope you have, picked a lesson or two from here. Have a nice day. Thank you so much. Bye.